Well, hello there, good people, and welcome to the Rabbit Hole edition of Dave Diggs History. I've been down here so long in this rabbit hole, I'm beginning to think I'm about to sprout a little cottontail. But as long as this is the 250th anniversary month of our independence, I've mentioned this before in previous episodes, I'm going to try and get as much material as I possibly can relative to the anniversary of our independence as possible. And if it means staying in this here rabbit hole, well, so be it. In our last episode, we had discussed a what if the United States never existed because either A, the revolution failed, or we just didn't revolt in the first place. All sorts of speculations. I thought, well, that's about it for this. There can't be anything else. Could there? Yep. Oh, there certainly could. There certainly could. There's lots more material in the what if department. That's unlimited. As a matter of fact, thanks to Jack, a commenter on the episodes, you can read his comment in the last episode, he suggested perhaps if we didn't exist in the first place, we might achieve our independence colony by colony. Okay, well, that makes sense. There is a future precedent for that, and we've discussed this. It's how Canada got to be Canada. Was it all at once the great big huge landmass we know as Canada? No, Canada in 1867 consisted just of Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. Everybody else came later. Could that happen to us here in the colonies? The original 13 or 14 or 15, and if you're wondering, have I gone nuts? Well, let's discuss that later, but it's the last episode. 14th and 15th colonies both being Florida. Beginning back to the premise, when might we have become independent should one of those two scenarios I mentioned be in place? I think it's possible that both Floridas might have been granted their independence first, just because they stayed on the right side of the line, the right side of the British Crown. Also, we could go many, many places on this. I can see a scenario by which Virginia is the first colony to gain independence. It will be part of a new republic. I can see that happening because, after all, it was the first colony. And I can see Massachusetts becoming independent. Massachusetts, home of Lexington and Concord. I can see the British Crown deciding, or Parliament, who's ever making the decisions, that yes, they shall become an independent republic, or independent something. And, well, it is Massachusetts we're talking about. They might become independent by 1926, 1934, just because they're Massachusetts. We know the relationship. Could be anything. Could be anything. But let's say, for purposes of this episode, and please let this be the last time I have to go down a rabbit hole, it's about the year 1800 or so, doesn't matter really, and we are not independent. We're not an independent nation. We're still the original, I'll say 13, just because I feel a headache coming on. We're still the 13 colonies. A little something happens in 7 years. It happens over back in the mother country. It happens in Parliament. It's the Slave Trade Act of 1807. Slave Trade Act, this is a British thing, said no more slave trading. If you're British, or if you're one of the colonials living in a British colony, you will not trade in slaves. You will not go to Africa. You will not pick up slaves. You will not transport them anywhere for resale, redistribution, nothing of that sort. It's all going to stop. Hooray for Britain. It's not full emancipation for slaves, but it's a step in the right direction. Their time will come, their day will come. Today's not that day, quite unfortunately. Okay, so the Slave Trade Act is in effect. The Royal Navy goes and patrols the west coast of Africa, and in time, not too long, the United States Navy will also assist them in enforcing the act. One little piece of the act says also, say for instance you're a plantation owner in the Bahamas. You have a plantation on one island, you have a plantation on another island. You also have slaves, unfortunate but true, and for whatever reason you, the plantation owner, want to transfer some of the slaves from this island, that plantation, to this island, that plantation. That's illegal. Under the Slave Trade Act, you can't do that. But this is going to have rather a negative effect on anyone who depends upon slave labor for their riches, particularly in the American South. How do you get more slaves if you need more slaves? Well, it's called the increase. You get your natural increase because you have slaves and they are going to produce more slaves by natural increase. That's the term used at the time. And so long as supply and demand are kept in more or less equilibrium, things should be quite fine. Not for the slaves, of course, but for the plantation owner. But this is certainly going to ruffle a few feathers. And what's coming down the pike, although nobody in 1807 knows that, is a final prohibition on slavery anywhere in the British colonies, except for those areas administered by the British East India Company. They are exempt. What might that do to the slaveholding South? Do you think people might get a little perturbed, upset, angry, revolutionary? They might do that with the Slave Act of 1807. They might decide, and this is speculation, they might decide, okay, that's it, we've had enough of being regulated by a foreign entity. We're going to secede. We're going to declare our independence, and if need be, fight for it. I can see that happening, taking on the British Empire in defense of your own economic interests at the expense of somebody else's liberty interests. Okay, well then what? Might the American Civil War have started not in 1861, but 1811, 1812, when tempers flare to the point where that's it, the guns open up? Let's say that happens. What will the North, the non-slaveholding North, do? Now remember, in this scenario, they're colonies too. Might the mother country call upon the North, the northern colonies, to assist in putting down the rebellion? I can see that happening. They are supposedly loyal to the crown. They can be counted upon to enforce the crown's will on occasion. So then what happens? Northern troops, militia largely, are mobilized and sent down south, and guess what happens then? We've got the Civil War of 1861 to 1865 perhaps happening as early as the War of 1812 did in reality. And at this point, what's going to happen? It's anybody's guess. The South will probably be overwhelmed by numbers from across the sea and from across the northern border. It's going to end largely the same way that the real Civil War, 1861 to 1865, ended. And some would say it's not over. It's still going on. Matter of fact, I remember a quote from several years ago: 100 years after the war ends, the wounds still bleed. And if you're from Boston, Chicago, Toledo, Poughkeepsie, you might wonder, well, what's that all about? If you live in Atlanta, Savannah, Nashville, Memphis, Austin, Dallas-Fort Worth, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. I can somehow relate to that. Oh, I'm tired and I feel another headache coming on. What next? What now? What's going to happen in the next episode? Well, you may remember I had mentioned 2 or 3 episodes ago that the anniversary, 250th anniversary of American independence has come and gone, but it's still July, it's still the anniversary month. And today being that date, there's still a few more days left in July for something to happen. And if I'm lucky, I will have dug myself out of this rabbit hole by that time. What might we discuss in the next episode? A wrap up to the 250th anniversary month? Well, come back and find out, because I have yet to write the script. But I think it should raise a few eyebrows, shake up a few people. In the meantime, thank you for sticking around for this long. A like and subscription would be appreciated if you have not yet done so. And if you have done so, thank you so very much. And Jack, also, thank you for mentioning what you mentioned, because it kept me down here in a rabbit hole another couple of days. Thank you so much. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. Until next time, when our paths cross, I have the honor to remain your most respectful and obedient servant, Dave Diggs, coming to you from the nearly open rabbit hole that is American history. Appreciate you being here.